You mentioned earlier that Rosemond provided you with a green Nissan Altima and paid to have stash boxes installed in it. Is that right? Yeah. Was that before or after his son was slapped? After. How long after? Not too long. I don't remember exactly. You testified earlier that Rosemond's son was slapped by members of G Unit in March 2007? Right. And you also testified that you and others, including Rosemond, participated in the murder of Lowell Fletcher in September of 2009. Is that right? Right. So right now, I want you to focus on the period between the slap in March 2007 and the murder in September 2009, the period in between them. During that period, did you participate in any acts of violence against G Unit? Yes. One or several? Several. Can you give us some examples? There was a time when we shot up Tony Yayo's mother's house. Another time we attempted to shoot one of their bodyguards in his car, and a couple others. Okay, let's start with the shooting at Tony Yayo's mother's house. Approximately what year was that? 2007. Before or after Rosemond's son was slapped? After. Did you participate in that act of violence alone or with others? No, with Jimmy. When you say Jimmy, are you talking about James Rosemond, the defendant? Right. With respect to this act of violence, walk us through what happened. We went over there and we kind of sat outside just to make sure the coast was clear, pretty much, and then he told me to drive by while he shot out the back window, shot out the house. Okay, so let's go through that. What time of day was this? Nighttime. How did you get to Tony Yayo's mother's house? We drove. Who drove? I did. Which car? The Expedition, Ford Expedition. Whose car was that again? Derek English. Did that car have any special features? Yeah, it had a stash box under the back seat. So you were driving. What was in the stash box that day? A machine gun. Can you show the jury how big that machine gun was with your arms? Maybe like this big. Your Honor, we can't see. Indicating about 18 inches. Everybody agree to that? Government agrees. I can't see. Hold your hands up again, please. Everybody agrees it's around 18 to 20 inches? Yes, Your Honor. Yes, the government agrees to that. Did that machine gun have anything attached to it? A silencer. So that figure, the 18 inches, is that with or without the silencer attached? With. Okay, whose car was that again? Derek English. So on the night when you and Jimmy did the shooting at Tony Yayo's house, you said you were driving. Where was Jimmy? In the back seat. You said you... Do you remember what borough the house was in? Queens. What happened when you arrived in that area? I don't know. We just sat in the car and pretty much waited till we did what we came there to do. And after waiting, what happened? He asked me to drive by while he shot at the house from out the back window. How many shots? I don't know, a few. How did the gun sound? Like a roulette wheel or something? Was it your idea to drive to Tony Yayo's mother's house that day? No. Why did you go there? Jimmy asked me to. When he asked you, what did he say? I don't remember exactly, but probably just asked me to ride with him over there. Before you drove Rosemond to Yayo's mother's house, did Rosemond tell you what he planned to do when you arrived? I don't remember, but more than likely, yeah. Do you know how Rosemond learned the address of Tony Yayo's mother's house in Queens? No. After the shooting, did Rosemond say anything to you about the shooting? Not that I remember. Who exactly did the shooting? Rosamond. What was Rosamond's mood or demeanor after the shooting? Regular. Were you paid for your involvement in that drive-by shooting? No. Do you know whether anyone was hit? No. Did there come a time when you participated in an act of violence in the Bedford-Stuyvesant section of Brooklyn related to Baha? Objection, Your Honor. What's the objection? May we approach? Sure. If I remember correctly, he testified 2 minutes ago that he participated in 2 acts of violence. Sorry? If I remember correctly, he testified that he participated in 2 acts of violence. One was the Tony Yayo's mother's shooting, and 2 was the bodyguard. I don't believe this is one of those 2. He also said that there were others. You shouldn't be able to lead him. What is the objection? That it's a leading question? Well, the question is that it's leading, obviously. He is now putting things into the witness's mind that the witness never even brought up. Rephrase the question. Did there come a time when you participated in an act of violence in the Bedford-Stuyvesant section of Brooklyn? Objection, Your Honor. Did there come a time when you participated in another act of violence that you haven't told us about yet? Yes. Approximately what year? 07. Before or after Rosamond's son was slashed? After. Did you do this alone or with somebody else? With somebody else. Do you know the name of that person? No. How do you know that person? Through Teff. Can you describe that person associated with Teff? He was tall, brown skin, and he had dreads. With respect to this act of violence, walk us through what happened. We were in Bed-Stuy. The guy Baha lived over there, so we were looking for him. But when we didn't find him, Teff's friend just ended up shooting at some other random person outside of his house. What time of day was this? Nighttime. How did you get there? We drove. Who drove? I did. Which car? Nissan Altima. And who was in the car with you? I don't know his name. Teff's friend? Right. Did there come a point where you arrived in an area in Brooklyn where you thought Baha had a connection? Yeah. And when you got there, what happened? Like I said, we didn't find Baha, so after like a few minutes, the guy just got out the car and it was some people standing outside in the street. He shot one of them like in the foot or something like that. After he shot somebody random in the foot, what happened after that? We left. Did he get back in the car? Yeah. When he got in the car, did he tell you what happened? Yeah. Where was this roughly? What area? Bed-Stuy area. Sorry, just pause a minute, Mr. Enzer. Did you see him shoot anybody? No. How do you know he shot? He told me he did. Did you hear it? No. Why not? He had a gun with a silencer on it. So after he gets back in the car and tells you what happened, or actually, where did this event take place, this shooting? In the Bed-Stuy area. We have no testimony that there was an actual shooting. Yes, we do. He said that the shooter told him, to which there was no objection. Now I'm objecting, Your Honor, because you brought out the fact that he didn't see or hear it, which goes to my cross-examination. Are you going to tie this up to the defendant in some way, Mr. Enzer? Yes, Your Honor. Your Honor, may we approach the bench? No. Roughly, where did the shooting happen? Objection. He said he didn't see or hear the shooting, so how would he know where it happened? Have a seat, counselor. Let's put it this way. Why don't you describe in detail what happened when you stopped the car and the guy gets out of the car with a gun? He got out the car. At some point, he got back in and he told me that he shot somebody in the foot. So before he gets out of the car, Let's not get out of the car yet. Where was the car when you stopped? Parked like down the block? Down the block from what? From where I dropped him off at, where he got out the car at. And where did he get out of the car? Just in the middle of the street. It was like around Brooklyn, Queens, Manhattan, Cleveland, or Los Angeles. Bed-Stuy in Brooklyn. Okay, now he gets out of the car. Do you drive off or does he walk away? Yeah, he walks away. And there comes a point where he gets back in the car? Yeah. How long between when he got out of the car and when he got back in the car? Not long, a few minutes. Okay, go ahead. And the spot where you were parked when he gets back in the car, roughly what streets? Somewhere in like the Lexington Avenue, Marcy, somewhere around there. In Brooklyn? Yeah. Was it your idea to drive with Tef's friend to Bed-Stuy that day? No. Whose idea was it? It was Tef's, pretty much. Move to strike the whole answer, Your Honor. Judge, there's more testimony. I understand. Let's go on. It was Tef's idea. Did you agree to participate on your own initiative, or did somebody ask you? Jimmy asked me to. After the incident, did you speak with Jimmy about it? I really don't remember. Would it have been your practice or habit to? Objection. Overruled. More than likely, yeah. Why was that your habit or practice? Because it really didn't have nothing to do with me, so... Were you paid? No. You mentioned earlier that one of the acts of violence you participated in was an attempt to shoot a bodyguard. Are you done with the... Yes, Your Honor. I have a question or two about that. When Jimmy asked you to drive on this occasion, did he say anything else about it? No, he just asked me to get with Tef, and Tef pretty much was telling me that he thought that the guy Baja lived in that area, and we went over there to the area. Who is it who told you something about thinking that Baja lived in that area? Tef. Tef told you that? Yeah. Was Jimmy present when Tef told you that? I don't remember. I renew my motion, Your Honor. Members of the jury, I am going to strike the testimony about this incident in Bed-Stuy. Disregard it. Your Honor, could we approach at sidebar? What is it? Your Honor, Mohammed Stewart testified about this incident. He testified that Roseman paid Stewart to cause 2 shootings against Baja, one against Baja and one against Baja's sister. Stewart testified that he used a guy named Life to carry out those shootings. The witness doesn't know the name Life, does he? Doesn't know the name, but that's who he is describing. The shooter here, he is a Life. What about that, Mr. Tugger? Your Honor, I don't remember the testimony word for word, but I think the testimony was he was paid afterwards. Who was paid? Stewart was paid after. By whom? I'm not sure. Rosemond? I don't want to quote the testimony. Well, can you put your hands on the transcript? We can, Judge. The testimony from Stewart. One person at a time here. Stewart testified that there were 2 incidents he was supposed to carry out. A shooting in Staten Island where Life shot out the door to Baja's house, and then he was also supposed to have Life shoot up Baja's sister's house in Brooklyn. Stewart did not know that this shooting actually occurred. He was informed that it didn't, and so Jimmy paid, basically gave a partial payment. He didn't give the full sum he was supposed to pay, I believe. Paid whom? Stewart. Roseman ended up paying Stewart $12,000, basically for both of these incidents. He testified to that. All that's happening here is that Williams is giving testimony corroborating. Look, I'm going to tell the jury that they should hold in abeyance my ruling. I may reconsider it, and you can show me the testimony of Stewart that you think connects this. Thank you, Your Honor. Members of the jury, with respect to this testimony about the alleged incident in Bed-Stuy that I just asked you to disregard and struck, I just want to alert you to the fact that based on what the lawyers have said to me, I may change that ruling later on. My ruling will depend on some testimony that was given early last week, and counsel are going to be looking for that transcript. And depending on that, I'll either tell you to consider this or don't consider this. Let's go on.